Crosby, and you're listening to the Mean Joe Grizzly podcast.
Hey, it's Tom Matthews from Return of the Living Dead and Friday the 13th, Part 6, to name a few, and you're listening to the Mean Joe Grizzly podcast. Enjoy.
Hey guys, Tyler Main here, and you're listening to the Mean Joe Grizzly podcast. Hi, I'm John Russo, screenwriter of Night of the Living Dead. Welcome to the Mean Joe Grizzly podcast. Enjoy.
Let me introduce myself. I'm Joe Grizzly, bitch.
What up, me militia? I'm Mean Joe Grizzly, and when I'm not trying to make it through the streets of New York without making a sound, I'm at the Grizzly Cave, watching movies, reading comics, listening to metal, and of course, crushing beers. And I am back at the Grizzly Cave to bring y'all my review of A Quiet Place Day 1, the prequel to A Quiet Place and the day that the earth went silent. But before we get started, please make sure to follow me on all social media pages, subscribe to the show wherever you listen to podcasts, and subscribe to the YouTube channel by clicking the links in the description below. By doing that, you'll help me continue to talk about all forms of badassery. So does A Quiet Place Day 1 continue the quality that the franchise has given us so far, or does it just offer a lackluster prequel? Let's find out. This is Grizzly Grade Reviews. When New York City comes under attack from an alien invasion, a woman and other survivors try to find a way to safety. They soon learn they must remain absolutely silent as the mysterious creatures that are attacking the city are drawn to the slightest sound. I feel like in 2018, when the first A Quiet Place was released, that John Krasinski kind of caught this lightning in the bottle, so to speak, with that first film. Just the emotion, the drama, the heart that was poured into that movie. I just felt like it could never be replicated again. And then they released the second part of that, and I felt like it was almost as good as the first one. A Quiet Place Part 2 had a lot more to offer in that universe. And then they announced A Quiet Place Day 1, and I would be lying if I told you that I wasn't like blown away at the thought of this movie. The only thing that really intrigued me was I wanted to know more about the aliens, how they came here, and why are they here, and why are they killing everything on the planet that makes noises. They appear to be just these apex predators that go from planet to planet, traveling on asteroids until they crash land and they populate a planet. But I was wondering, do they have like a leader? Is there some overlord that's controlling them? What more does this universe have to offer with these creatures? That was what I was really looking for in this movie. And although I did not get that, I did get another very well directed and written film that has so much heart and emotion that I would have thought John Krasinski did this one as well. But the director is actually Michael Ceranosky, who is famous for a movie known as Pig. I haven't seen that one. It's on Hulu. I haven't checked it out yet, but that's what he's known for. So this is like his first real big movie, and it's almost like John Krasinski possessed him and directed this movie through him, because it's that beat for beat as far as like the vision that John Krasinski has for this universe, which honestly is very refreshing, because most of the time when these franchises get big, when they get more than 2 movies in, they usually go away from their roots and what they originally were. And sometimes it's to the detriment of the franchise. And I was like 100% sure that this movie was going to do that. It wasn't going to have any building tension at all. It was just going to be explosions and all this action-packed stuff, like the city getting destroyed by these aliens and people getting taken out in masses. It was just going to be more of a action-adventure with a little splash of horror in there. And I was very satisfied to see that they did not do that with this, that they stuck to their guns and they kept the things that make this franchise so great. One of the key components that this franchise has done so well over the years is delivering this fantastic drama to a movie that usually is devoid of all drama. Not to say that horror movies can't have drama or be dramatic, but normally it's focusing on the scares, it's focusing on the monsters, it's focusing on the killers, it's focused on the way the kills take place, stuff like that. This movie is focusing on the humanity of these characters and the events that have shaped them to their present day, that and throws them into this situation where they have to overcome stuff that's happened in their past that is also affecting them in their future. And I love that these movies have crafted that so well. And when I say, I use the word crafted because it's definitely an art form that they're doing here with these movies and how they merged that drama with horror and sci-fi elements. And a true testament to this is the fact that all three of these films have barely any dialogue in them. This one might have the most dialogue out of all three films. Two might be about equal with this one as far as some dialogue goes, but this one to me definitely has the most dialogue. And to convey so much emotion on screen with hardly any dialogue is pretty incredible. And not only is it hard to do, but to do it in 3 movies in a row and provide perfect execution, that's unheard of. Like, that just doesn't happen. And to make a ballsy decision like setting it in New York, the city that never sleeps, where there's always noise, and to rise to that challenge and to execute it almost perfectly, it's crazy. It's absolutely insane to see them succeed with this format over and over and over again. And you would think that after 2 movies, now on the 3rd movie, that these same beats, this same type of filmmaking where you hardly have any dialogue and it's got this great sound design and all that, but pretty much using the same, for lack of a better word, gimmick, that it would just wear its welcome out, and there's no way in hell that it would keep on producing these good, fresh movies. And it doesn't. And that's what's crazy. It's crazy that they've literally made the same type of movie 3 times, but somehow made each one of them starkly different and made each one of them hit just as hard. It's just great. One of the nice touches about this movie being set in a city like New York is when all hell breaks loose and these creatures fall from the sky in the form of these meteors, which they all look like meteorites are falling from the sky. And once they land with this devastating force. It's almost like watching like footage from 9/11, because there's just clouds of dust and dirt all up in the air, and these creatures descend upon the citizens of New York, and the backdrop of all the people running away, the dust clouds everywhere, and the shadows and blurs of these creatures snatching people up and killing them, as well as them crawling on the sides of the buildings and stuff around them. It just looks awesome, and it looks very creepy and very unsettling. And it might just be because I haven't seen the first 2 movies in a while, but the aliens in this one look better than they ever have. I don't know if it's because we're getting like more like up close shots of these creatures or what, but they just look great. I could be wrong. I could be just caught up in the moment of the movie, but they look damn good, and they look scarier now than I think they've ever looked. And I do think that the environment of a big city and seeing like how strong and how powerful these creatures really are when they climb on the sides of buildings, and they're literally tearing these buildings apart with their feet when they're walking on the sides of these buildings. And they jump on a car and they crush it almost flat. Just stuff like that, just showing like this, the sheer force and brutality of these monsters, I think is what really makes them look a lot scarier in this movie than they have in the first two installments, which is awesome. But also, I really wanted more information about these aliens in this movie, and we kind of were not necessarily promised that, but the movie was kind of marketed that we were going to learn more about these aliens and why they came to Earth and why they're doing what they're doing. And unfortunately, we do not get that. And that is really the biggest glaring issue that I have with the film, is that we didn't get any information. I didn't want all information, but I wanted a little bit, and we didn't even get that. And who knows, maybe this is what John Krasinski's vision for this universe is, that you don't need to know what they are or why they came here. You just need to know that they are the threat and they are the reason why humanity is living the way they are now. And I can be fine with that. But that doesn't mean I still don't want to know more. But nevertheless, still one of the coolest movie monsters we have gotten in probably the last 20 years. One of the other elements that makes this franchise so great at what it does, and where it definitely shines at, is building tension. And this movie is no exception. In fact, there are moments in this movie that might be the most intense of the franchise. So many tense scenes in this movie. And I don't want to really talk about them because I don't want to spoil them for you. But let's just say that they have a lot of scenes that are very tension filled. One in particular that kind of gives us a different look at the aliens, and I really don't want to go any further than that, because I will tell you that it's not really giving us anything definitively new, but it definitely gives us a tidbit of something we have not seen them do yet. And that scene in particular, one of the characters is right there in grave danger, and it's a very, very tense scene. There's also another scene that involves them going down like this water line, and one of the aliens is in hot pursuit of them, and it's just gaining on them and gaining on them and gaining on them, and it's so well done. You would think that they wouldn't be able to make like the sound aspect like have a more meaningful impact in this movie compared to the other two, but putting it in a city, and when that city kind of gets emptied, then it's like a big echo chamber. So every little thing can be heard around the city, and these things obviously can hear from miles away. So just stepping on a piece of broken glass 3 blocks or more away, and the whole damn horde of these things is coming at you. So it definitely raises the stakes when it comes to tension. And that tension is further increased when we have characters that are actually very well written, very relatable, and just lovable characters. Lupita Nyong'o is phenomenal in this movie. They could not have picked a better actress to play this role. Not only does she have the skill and the talent to pull off just about any role that they put her in, but they picked the best actress that I've seen in a while that does such a phenomenal job of conveying emotion without dialogue. And you can see a perfect example of her talent with that when you watch Jordan Peele's Us. Now, I'm not a fan of Us, but I thought that Lupita Nyong'o's performance in that movie was phenomenal. And this performance is no exception. She was so heartbreaking and at the same time so relatable, and just a tragic character, someone who just had a bad hand dealt in life, and now having to deal with this situation that just seems completely insurmountable. Joseph Quinn, aka Eric, also known as Eddie to us horror fans from Stranger Things, guy's got acting skills, man. Like, I thought that he was good as Eddie, but man, he's really good in this movie. He shows so much emotion. It's very, very impressive how his performance is just great. There's this one scene where he narrowly dodges this situation, and he's kind of just sitting there and doesn't really know how to react. In the moment that it hits him, you could see it without him making any kind of comments or anything. He just bursts into tears in this emotional moment, and he was so damn good. Really pulls on your heartstrings. They could not have asked for two better performances out of these two actors. And if you don't get just a slight bit emotional at times in this movie, then you just ain't got a soul. They are just so freaking phenomenal. So the question is now, where does this franchise go? Because we got this movie now, and it is a prequel, and it does take place on the first day of the invasion. But one of the things that I am kind of struggling with as far as like how I'm going to rate this movie is I don't really see the point in making this A Quiet Place Day 1. Maybe I'm just being nitpicky with the title, but it feels like that, yeah, it did take place on the day of the invasion, but then it goes a few days after that. And what was the point of this movie other than seeing the invasion in full swing? And does that make it a detriment to the franchise? Does it tarnish the almost perfect record it's had up to this point? Or does it add to it? And I feel like it does add to it. Now, is it very loosely connected? Yes. It's not as cohesive as they could have made it, which I'm kind of glad they avoided, because if they would have tried to do like an MCU type of A Quiet Place universe, that just isn't going to work. That doesn't have to be done with everything. But I do feel like that it's good enough to where it plays hand in hand with the other two films in the franchise. The problem is that I don't know where the franchise goes from here. Do they keep doing like individual stories that take place during the invasion? Like what do they do next? Maybe go ahead to when the humans organize and they start to take the planet back from these aliens. The only problem that I have with that is that you could fall into the trap of, like I was saying before, of getting away from the horror roots and making it more of an action adventure movie. And that's something that I don't really want to do. So if they could keep giving us movies like this, where it just tells stories within the Quiet Place universe, I'm cool with that. I do think eventually they are going to have to give us a little more information about these aliens. Maybe give us a small origin story. Hell, put out a graphic novel or something that explains them a little bit more. But eventually they're going to have to give us that, I believe. And who knows, maybe they won't give us that. But if they continue putting out quality stuff like this, I'll keep watching them as long as they keep making them. Is this a perfect film? Is there stuff that I didn't like? There's a few things. Like, one, there are some parts in the movie that are a little too slow for me. And that might be a little counterintuitive, considering we have been talking about how great they are at building up tension and leading to something tense. Being slow in that delivery, how could something be a little too slow for you? Well, those moments that are too slow, there's not a lot of tension going on in those moments. It's kind of a doldrums period. And that makes up, I'd say, about maybe 20% of the movie, a little more than what they had in the other two. So it's not a huge problem, but it's definitely something I did notice. I said this when I got out of the theater, that I feel like A Quiet Place as a franchise is starting to rise up to that same rank as Evil Dead, and Scream, in the sense that they continue to just put out consistently good movies over and over again. The Evil Dead franchise and Scream franchise don't have a bad movie in the franchise. They're consistently good with everything they do, and I feel like A Quiet Place is right there with them. I'm excited about the future of this franchise. I feel like they left it open so they can do more stories like this, and if that's what they're going to continue to give us, I'm fine with it. I'll keep watching them. So with all that being said, A Quiet Place, day one, gets a 4 out of 5, and it's Grizzly Gary guaranteed. Go out to theaters, see this movie, and support it, guys. It's pretty damn good. And that does it for another episode. Make sure you click the links in the description and subscribe to the show wherever you listen to podcasts, and also follow the YouTube channel so you don't miss any of the content I'm bringing your way. Also, make sure you check out Carl Casey at Whitebat Audio. He is a synthwave master, and his music is being used throughout each episode, so check him out on Apple Music, Spotify, and YouTube. Coming up next on Grizzly Grade Reviews, we're going to be talking about the conclusion to the X trilogy, Maxine, and I cannot wait. I love Ty West as a director. I love his last 2 movies in this trilogy, and I cannot wait to see what he does with Maxine. So that's going to be on the next episode. But that's not all, guys. I have been working diligently on new content for y'all, and it's going to start on Monday, where I'm going to be dropping the revamped Mean Joe video. And on this first episode, I'm going to be talking about my favorite Ty West film, House of the Devil. So make sure that y'all check that out. It's dropping on Monday. Just go on to the YouTube channel, subscribe, and hit the notification button so you don't miss any of the content. I've got a lot more coming this month too, so just stay tuned for those announcements. And remember, I'm Joe Grizzly, bitch.